Hey everybody, this is Cheri Stoka, and I am owner of Wayless MD and Wellness, and I've been doing a number of videos about continuous glucose monitoring. And today is video 8, and I'm going to be talking about how blood sugars and gut health are related and how they affect each other. So you can see that there is a test up here. I'm going to be going through my gut test because I think it's going to be really, really important for people to kind of grasp when we talk about gut health and when we look at, our microbiome and what makes up our ecosystem. This is the kind of, things that we are looking at. So again, I decided to do an experiment with continuous glucose monitoring because I wanted to really see where I was at in regards to like my metabolic health. So it was more about, better understanding how my sleep was affecting my blood sugars, my diet, my stress levels, because there's so many things that affect your blood sugars. But today I wanted to really focus on the relationship with our gut health because it's so crucial. And there's so many things that I noticed, and now I'm tying it together of why my blood sugar is spiking when I eat certain foods. So I'm a very healthy person. I do have, I've had, gut issues kind of my entire life. And obviously it's, I've gotten to a point where it's so much better, but you'll kind of get a snapshot of where I was. And, a lot of it had to do with what I have learned after all these years. A lot of it had to do with my exposure to mold and mold toxins. So, I could talk, and we've been talking a little bit more about it because we're really trying to bring awareness to people about the importance of mold exposure and how much that can suppress your immune system so much such that, so many other diseases can begin to develop. And that's essentially what happened to me. I, over time, developed Hashimoto's. Actually, I was diagnosed with a hypothyroidism in my 20s, and then, was treated, conventional medicine route. Later found out that it really wasn't just low, hypothyroidism, it was Hashimoto's. So I have been, kind of self-managing my Hashimoto's for the last 15 years. And everything is pretty much in a like remission state. However, there are times when, my gut issues kind of, exacerbate with certain symptoms. So, these are the tests that we offer at Wayless MD, and I do them all, and I do them frequently. So I'm going to go through my GI map, and this is, this test was about 2 years ago. This was when, this was during a full moon, and that's actually really important because a lot of different organisms come out, our body is made up of organisms. So they come out and they have like feeding periods. And when you do a test during the full moon, you can get a better snapshot of what really is going on in your gut. Some people will think that is totally crazy, but in my experience, and, a lot of the literature out there will also, demonstrate that it can be such an important piece to really getting an idea of what's going on. And so I'm going to just briefly run through this, and then at the end, just kind of help you understand again how gut health affects blood sugars, your blood sugars and spikes and things like that. All right. So the GI map, the first thing we're looking at is pathogens, bacterial pathogens. So typically people don't have anything found in this first section. So of course I did. And you can see here that I had this enteroinvasive, this E. coli Shigella. So this is a pathogen. You do not want this. Mine was less than a normal range, but I don't want to see anything in this section here. Also Salmonella. So again, I, because of my suppressed immune system, I'm more vulnerable to have certain things when they come through. They may stay there longer just because my immune system is not doing a great job at managing that. So I'm gonna this way. And then, so this next portion here is parasitic pathogens, which I did not have any of those. That's very good. So this next section here is looking at H. pylori. H. pylori, again, it was not above the normal range, but what we know today is that if it's there and if there's other markers indicating that it's causing problems and it needs to be addressed. So it is a bacteria that is very unique because it actually can reside in the stomach. You know, the stomach is very, very acidic. So most organisms can't really live there, but H. pylori is very unique because it has a way to kind of create this lining, this mucosal layer, or not mucosal layer, I'm blanking on the word, but it is able to basically protect itself from the acidity of the gut, and it excretes certain enzymes that actually break down and lower the stomach acid. So this is a problem. This is a big problem. This is something that, again, I will kind of help you understand how you go about, you know, treating this stuff, because it's not like you go after each little thing. When you treat the lowest foundation, then things start to kind of rebalance on its own. So H. pylori, super common. A lot of people have it. And so that is something that I will obviously factor in, and my mouse is not working for some reason. So then this other section here is normal bacteria flora. And the normal bacteria flora is the healthy bacteria. You know, it is there, it serves a purpose, it helps you stay healthy. And so when I look at my normal bacteria flora, I can see that everything was pretty much in a normal range, with the exception of Akkermansia. You can see down here at the bottom, that was a little bit elevated. And that did not really concern me too much. I mean, it usually is an indication that there's, you know, obviously dysbiosis or imbalance of good and bad bacteria. But the nice thing about Akkermansia, these two down here, Akkermansia and Faecobacterium, those are actually our keystone species. So those are strains of bacteria that provide an extreme amount of health benefits. And Akkermansia in particular in the literature has been very much associated with leaner body masses. So it does a really good job with, you know, burning and metabolizing fat. So if I'm going to be high in anything, like that's the one that I wanted to definitely see, you know, elevated. Then the next section here is opportunistic bacteria. So this is bacteria. You can see also, you might be familiar with some of these terms like Staphylococcus, Streptococcus. So these are strains of bacteria that are a normal resident in our gut. So they can be there, they can, you know, they have some, you know, they could have some health benefits. The problem is that when the environment gets compromised and these strains of bacteria begin to overgrow, then they start to cause problems. So when I see Bacillus elevated on my test, when I see Streptococcus elevated on my test, I know that that is because of the H. pylori. And the H. pylori is suppressing my gut acidity. So now other organisms are able to grow because they thrive in lower acidic environments. So again, that's why it goes back to, you know, when I go through all of the different markers, I have to determine where I start. Because again, if you kind of get the lowest denominator, then things start to kind of rebalance on its own. So the next section here, actually, I want to go back up because this is pretty important. So this particular test will look at autoimmune triggers. I do have an autoimmune, I have Hashimoto's, and when you have one autoimmune condition, it really increases your risk for having multiple autoimmune conditions. So when I look at these markers, Prevotella is very, you know, quite elevated, and that one is associated with rheumatoid arthritis. So you know, that's something where I am definitely targeting that. I'm going to try to rebalance all the other organisms, try to get that level down, because the last thing I want is for my next autoimmune to be rheumatoid arthritis. So right now I am clear. I mean, I did kind of notice at one point, like my knuckle getting a little on the large side. So that kind of freaked me out. But overall, I feel, I feel really, really good. So I am going to keep my eye on that. That is for sure. This section here is fungus and yeast. So there are many, many strains of fungus and yeast. And there was a type of fungi that was found in my test, Rhodotorula. I've never heard of that type of yeast. Candida is a very common, but I do know just in previous tests that I do have a overgrowth of yeast, so fungus, and that a lot of that has to do with the mold exposure that I had really all throughout my life. I mean, it started probably, as a child, and then when I went to college, I lived in apartments with mold, and then, one of our first houses had mold. So I've been, it's been part of my regimen for a while, and really trying to minimize the mold and the fungus, because again, that mold is another topic, but that can really hijack your immune system. It can really be the foundational issue for a lot of people that have so many problems. We are always asking, have you been exposed to mold? I mean, we're doing mold testing all the time, because if they have been, you have to start here. You just have to. So that is that piece there. And then I did not have any of the protozoa type of parasites, which is good. I did not have any detectable worms, which is good. And then I'm just going to wrap up with this last section here on my intestinal health. So this is looking at my digestion. My steatocrit, so that's a marker of fat malabsorption. That was normal. I mean, it was a little higher. So I know in previous tests that I did have some fat malabsorption going on. So, but that is in normal range. This is looking at the function of my pancreas, and is my pancreas producing enough enzymes to help break down my food? And this all makes sense because my production of enzymes is low. And the reason for that is because my gut, my stomach has a compromised acidity amount of acid, essentially. So because H. pylori is shunting the acid, so that's where a lot of digestion begins, a lot of protein digestion. So now that, the upper GI is not doing its job, my pancreas is overproducing, trying to work really hard to produce more enzymes so it can break down what my stomach is not breaking down. So I always have to supplement with enzymes. When I don't take enzymes, I notice it immediately. So that's that section. Beta-glucuronidase is looking at your detoxification. If you're able to, if you have good detox pathways, if you detox estrogens and your hormones, etc. So that was good, good thing there. I did not have any blood in my stool. And then here's my immune system. So my secretory IgA is super duper low. My immune system is working super hard on a lot of things. I have, as you recall, I had the parasites. I have overgrowth of some strains. I have H. pylori. So my immune system needs support. So now you saw the snapshot of my GI map that was about 2 years ago. So I've been doing a lot of different things and feel super great. And I actually just did another GI map a week ago. So I'm going to be showing you kind of those results and how things have changed. And the reason why I did that is because I had this very odd skin reaction, breakout, full body. Not really sure if that was an immune system thing or if it was something I, was exposed to or ate. But I'm going to take a look at what's going on in my gut so I can be very strategic. Because as you can imagine, you can just like try a million things. And when you get test results like this, and you can see exactly where you need to start, it saves so much time and money and sanity and all the things that go along with it. So just to tie this back to blood sugars. So I'm doing continuous glucose monitoring. I'm using a device tracking 24/7. And there are certain foods that spike my blood sugar. And most people understand that it's always like sugar and in carbohydrates and foods that kind of fall under that category. But it really can be foods that also you don't properly digest, because I had certain sensitivities to it. The one that sticks out is carrots. That spiked my blood sugar super high, which doesn't even make sense at all, right? But as I recall, I knew that carrots were actually, they showed up on my food sensitivity test. So it is a food that obviously is not properly broken down. And when it enters my gut, it is like a grenade, and it causes an inflammatory response, and that inflammatory response is going to increase my blood sugars. So it's just one example, but it's so important for people to understand this piece to it, because again, blood sugars, yes, it is about the food, but it can be so many other things. It can be your stress response. It can be the amount of sleep. It can be the relationships you have. I mean, it really, it's so important to get a snapshot of really where you are, not only like this test, which is amazing, but also the, blood sugar management as well. So hopefully that is helpful. And like I said, I am going to be posting my after, and I'm really hoping it's better. But if it's not, I will work on that. And so that's it. And I look forward to our next one. Thank you so much.